Back in the big segment tonight, more bad news for Hillary Clinton. A man named Brian Pagliano, who set up Mrs. Clinton's server in her New York home, is called to testify in front of a House panel investigating the assassination of the American ambassador in Benghazi, Libya. But Pagliano's lawyer says he will take the fifth and will not testify. Join us from Washington, Fox News correspondents James Rosen and Catherine Herridge, who's covering this story. Catherine, why is this important?
Well, Bill, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but when your low-level IT guy takes the fifth, I mean, that is not good. And then on top of that today, we had this 9-hour deposition with this longtime Clinton ally, Cheryl Mills, who was her chief of staff at State. And it was clear that after that deposition, there was some kind of agreement between the Republicans, Democrats, and Mills on the committee that they would come out and just give one statement to the press, which was it was extremely professional. She answered all of the questions. Nothing was sort of left in question. But it's all classified, so now there's like a lid on it. And you've done big investigations. You know how this works. They start with a little people on the outside, and they start moving in and building the paper trail so that they can see who's being truthful, who's not, and kind of lay the traps for the big people, which is going to be Clinton and Abedin.
Lois Lerner got away with it, took the fifth on the IRS investigation, and Pagliano's going to do the same thing. As you said, he's a low-level guy. He's a tech guy. Right. He's not an editorial guy, but he did see things, or he wouldn't be taking the fifth, correct?
Absolutely. He's got a lot of inside information, but the setup of that server, who was involved, who signed off on it, what kind of additional security provisions were put into place, because one of the questions we're hearing increasingly is whether there was some kind of compromise by an intelligence service or hackers. There are reports that Guccifer wants to sell all these emails. So this guy was in on the ground floor, and he's not really a political appointee, so he doesn't have a lot of cover with the Clintons necessarily. Okay.
Now, what is the committee trying to get, Rosen, in the big picture on Benghazi? It's going on for years and years and years now. How do you see the big picture here?
Let me come back to that, Bill. We should point out the Clinton campaign says it encouraged Brian Pagliano to testify freely. I just want to encourage you to step back for a second and see this in a broader terms if we can. With Brian Pagliano signaling his intention to plead the fifth and thereby withhold what he knows from congressional investigators, the story of Mrs. Clinton and her server takes on still another feature of an epic scandal in the mode of Watergate, as we were discussing earlier this week, namely the low-level figure who served in both the campaign and in government, whose name means nothing to the general public, but who was essential to the maintenance of a secretive operation, and who, if presented with some form of immunity, could conceivably be flipped to testify about the higher-ups with whom he interacted. When you marry that to the pending court cases, the FBI investigation, and this periodic release of still more emails, you have in structural terms checked just about every box for the making of a scandal with real legs in a presidential campaign setting.
We don't want to speculate on it, but Lerner was not offered any deal. I don't think she would have taken it anyway. Pagliano, I know nothing about him.
Well, the irony here, Bill, the irony is that Edward Snowden would have us believe that the NSA can recover literally every keystroke that you and I type. The only people on planet Earth, every centipede is recoverable, except if you're Lois Lerner or Hillary Clinton. Then your stuff is just gone.
Yeah, it's gone
In
forever.
terms of your other question about Benghazi and what this committee hopes to achieve, this committee, as a select committee, is a little unusual in that it was formed some 2 years after the events in question. So it started kind of behind the 8 ball, as opposed to other famous select committees like Watergate or Iran-Contra. In this case, what they're trying to determine is why were the requests for more security by the folks on the ground in Benghazi almost systematically rebuffed? What exactly happened during the 8+ hours of the attacks themselves? And then why did the White House and other aspects of the administration press a patently false explanation of what occurred?
I want to give Catherine the last word. Rosen is speculating that this is Watergate, bubbling up. Do you see it that way as well?
Well, I think there are real serious questions about whether there were efforts to cover up the extent of the classified, and that took place at the State Department. We uncovered new information this week, along with senior executive producer Pamela Brown, that there was a lot of monkey business with the codes. So emails that were marked classified then went through the lawyer's office, and the coding was changed to something called B5, which makes it impossible for the public and for Congress to see. And the key thing here, Bill, is the lawyer in that office is the same lawyer who was handling the lowest learner emails at the IRS, and whistleblowers were like, "Whoa, like, are you trying to shield it?" I mean, that's an internal thing, and that's
it's
key.
a tight little dirty
absolutely.
circle, and I think it is dirty. I think that you know, but I don't know if it's going to come out before the election. We'll see. Catherine Rosen, thank you.